Well, here we are. It's time for an update. Been a while since I told you guys what was going on with this thing. And to be honest with you, it's been little things here and there, nothing crazy, really. I went and had the truck tuned by a guy that knows a little bit more about what he's doing as far as the timing table goes. I could figure out the fuel, but, just to make sure she was kind of doing her thing right. We did get the front wheels on. Did change out the front headlights because I was starting to drive it a bit more, and I was tired of not being able to see, and that kind of sucked. The old seat, well, starting to hurt my butt. So I did find these RSX seats. Now this is just kind of a mock-up. I just was trying to see if I even liked it. I picked these up for pretty cheap. Anyone knows RSX seats are actually kind of expensive. So I paid very little for these just to kind of see if I'd still like it, which I do. I do like this a lot better, but these seats are actually, I think, heavier than the stock ones. So I don't know how long they're going to last, but it's better than driving on, well, you can see kind of what this one looked like, but imagine a whole bunch more duct tape. So that kind of sucked. The other thing, we went ahead and we switched the spark plugs to a different spark plug per the tuner recommendation, because obviously a lot of you guys know that our main objective was to do turbos, which we haven't strayed off of that very far, but we're going to do nitrous to kind of play around. But that's not what this is about, because we're going to fix some steering issues. Now, I originally had this oil pan right here, which, as you can see, the way it's designed, it's meant for to clear the steering, because that's a big issue on these. So today we are going to be seeing what it's going to take to get this to clear a little better. And as you can see, I know it's probably hard, but there's not much clearance there. Does it rub? Yeah, probably. But we're going to see what we can do to kind of switch this around. And I'll be showing you what we got in just a second. All right, so what we have here is a Mustang 2 rack and pinion. A lot of people have used these. They work. Yeah, why wouldn't I, right? I know a lot of people use Stab Fab for their kits, but the problem is A, it's $750. He doesn't even include a rack for $750. He's put the R&D into it. I get it. Whatever, he can charge whatever he wants. But for me, his kit won't work because I have an LS and the steering sits much lower. So we've got to figure out how to mount this and where it can sit. I assume we'll be able to figure that out pretty easily. But another thing I was hoping to figure out is to maybe get a better steering angle. You see, we had to bash that primary a little bit to make this work. So maybe we can figure this out. That would be pretty cool. Maybe we can send like the shaft through right here. There's a small gap. That might be, I don't know. That might be a pain in the ass later, but it could work. So anyway, the cool part about all this is that we can get rid of that steering box. That's freaking heavy. All that steering linkage. The steering linkage probably weighs as much as that rack and pinion. So anyway, I figure that since I can't really use his, I'll just make my own. Doesn't look that difficult. I've got a welder. We'll find out. So we'll get her up in the air, and then we'll kind of throw it under there and see what it looks like. All right. All right, well, you can kind of get a rough idea, see what was involved. They have this pitman arm. Well, it's the support on this side, right, on the passenger side. Then they have all this linkage that goes back and forth. Imagine how much slop that creates. This is heavy, too. I mean, that rack and pinion weighs less than all that. We still have the steering linkage still to take out. So I'm going to get this up there with a jack stand and kind of like position it in place and see where we're at. See what kind of steering we're going to have to do as far as linkage and tie rods. I did order some tie rods that are kind of just some generic stuff. Might have to return it. I don't know. We'll see. Everything I ordered was extremely cheap. The rack was like $100, if that. Like, this is a budget truck. Like, I'm not trying to make it some fancy dancy truck. So anyway, I'll get this up there and then we'll see what it looks like, and maybe you guys can tell me where I screwed up or didn't screw up, or maybe this whole truck is a screw up. Hard to say. Anyway, here we go. All right. Well, easier said than done. Glad I didn't buy the kit, because I would have been really upset, because this is nowhere near close to working. But there's a chance, thanks to Tidy Cats. So anyway, we have to shoot before that motor mount, which is fine. Looks like that side's fine. We're gonna have to cut some off this side. Whoop-de-freaking do. Who cares, right? So then this side, up here, though, I don't know. Right, so you can see kind of down there, right? Right there. That's the shaft. No big deal, right? I'm thinking maybe if I cut out some of this fender well, we don't need that anyway, right? If I cut out some of this fender well, and then I come off of this support, there's a support, like a shock support right here, right? I can come off of it and then go down to it. It's not going to be the easiest route, but there's something to be said about people that do this for a living, because sure ain't me. Hey, that's really close. We should probably fix that. I mean, it's not hitting right now, but it's gonna. And then you can see where we had to clearance that for where this hits, or where it comes close to. So, well, I don't have my steering shaft yet. That should be here in a couple days, and then when that gets here, we'll kind of reevaluate. But no matter what, we have to figure out how to get this mounted. You can see we get really close to that bolt, so we might have to shift it towards the passenger side just a hair more, just to get a tab in there, right? I don't know. We'll figure something out. I got some tubing and some plate. Cut some shit up. See what happens. All right. So after a little bit of welding, a little bit of heating, a little bit of almost catastrophic grinding, we got some don't look too closely mounts. So now I just have some long bolts I had just laying around. So I'm going to cut that. I'm going to get this back up there, kind of get an idea where it's going to sit. And then I'm going to see how far or how long I need to cut that. So that way I can kind of make the mount and get it somewhat positioned and tacked in place. So the goal is to get it mounted on that crossbar. And so that way I can remove it easily, right? It's 4 bolts. Those 4 bolts should be able to withstand steering and stuff like that. So we'll see. We'll try that and see what happens. Be right back at you, hopefully soon. Okay, before we go any further, 2 things. Number 1, I'm not a fabricator. Number 2 is, forgot to mention at the beginning of this video, so when I originally did the cam in this, I did obviously Tick Performance's nitrous cam, and then I also did the comp cam lifters, the hydraulic lifters. And just to forewarn anybody that is running these lifters, they are extremely noisy. And I'm taking them out for sure. I don't know what they're doing, why they're so noisy. I've narrowed it down to them. I run VR1 2050 in it. Haven't had any problems with that in the past, so I don't think that would be it, but super frustrating. So don't use the comp cam lifters. I don't know if I trust them to run anything. Some people say they're fine in small block Chevy stuff, but I ain't gonna chance it ever again. So moving on, back to I'm not a fabricator, but so here we are right now. So we're a little long on this side, but I'm hoping that maybe I can kind of play with it and I can cut off a little bit. I think that's what Stab Fab has you do. You see on this side, we have plenty of room. So don't know yet, but we're gonna kind of play with it. I kind of have these mocked up, and you can see this is extremely rough, right? The brackets need ground down, the edges and stuff, but I'm just trying to get myself a rough idea of how it's gonna come through. Because right now, that's where we're at. You know, I don't know. I just kind of was contemplating for a second. I was like, well, maybe I could just, you know, notch the frame or something, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to. I think, you know, like, I can move it farther forward and have it come up more of a natural space, but I don't know, like, if the angle of it sitting too far forward and the angle of this coming out of where you position the rack will cause, like, bump steer issues or anything like that, and, like, that's the last thing I want, you know? That just sounds like a big pain in the ass. So, I mean, if anyone has any ideas, of course. But we'll see. We'll just keep playing with it, picking at it. I'm supposed to get some more joints in the mail here soon, and then go from there. Also, another thing I forgot to mention, when I got rid of the oil pan, I went back to the factory style oil filter right there. I had it relocate right there, but all it did was leak. It was terrible. I hated it. So, anyway, yep, that's where we're at. Let's see, I guess, where this takes us, and we'll go from there.